Live from WHO TV 13, where the news comes first 24 hours a day. John Bachman, Kim Kerrigan, Rick Silvestrini with sports, and meteorologist Gary Amble with the weather. This is Newscenter 13 at 10.
A dead fish floating in the South River, one of many thought killed by contaminated waters. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The DNR tonight asking people to stay out of the South River east of Indianola for the next few days.
A release of hog manure has polluted a 15-mile stretch of the river. It extends from Highway 92 near Indianola, northeast to Highway 5 near Hartford. While the DNR has stopped the flow of pollution, the damage has apparently already been done. As Newscenter 13's Mary Mills tells us, the DNR describes the contamination as extensive.
Anglers fishing along the South River near Hartford noticed a few dead fish, but didn't think much of it.
No, there's always dead fish around.
They were surprised to hear that this stretch of the river had been contaminated.
I'll probably just take them, turn them loose in farm pond I've been stocking.
DNR officials say tens of thousands of gallons of hog manure began flowing into the river sometime over the past few days. They say it came from Ted Deal's farm near Indianola.
Allegedly, he was pumping this out onto a field beginning last Thursday, is what the individual told us. And so how long it might have taken to saturate the field, move across the field, and find its way to the river, of course, we have no way of knowing.
Ober says it's hard to tell how many fish have been killed. He says by now, most have been carried downstream. Regardless of number, he says it is unfortunate.
We don't like to see any body of water receive that kind of waste, whether it's purely from an aesthetic standpoint, a health standpoint, a recreation standpoint.
Ober says while the contamination isn't a major health threat to humans, the DNR is advising people to stay out of the river for at least a few days. Mary Mills, Newscenter 13.
Ober says a DNR investigation is underway. He says that the farmer, Ted Deal, could be fined. Deal could not be reached for comment.
One of the suspects arrested in a bizarre sex abuse investigation in Des Moines is a free man tonight. 55-year-old Theron Strait, seen here on the right, was released today without paying bond. His brother, 49-year-old Robert Strait, is still behind bars. Newscenter 13's Kathy Saltero has been following this story. She joins us with the latest details from the newsroom. Kathy?
Well, Kim, both men face charges of sexual exploitation of a minor, and police believe there have been others in this case. Tonight, West Des Moines police have actually entered the investigation. Theron Strait, seen here on the left, and his brother Robert appeared in Polk County Court this morning. Both men are accused of participating in bizarre sex acts with at least one young boy, but police are convinced there were others. Police say the men had an obsession with human waste. This man was only 14 years old when he first met the Straits. He says he was aware of their obsession, but wasn't threatened by it.
I didn't think it was a big deal myself because he's paying me to do this. You know, he's not touching me. If he was to ever touch me, you know, that would turn a lot of stuff around.
West Des Moines police were also aware of the Strait brothers' sexual fetish. 4 years ago, they found these 14 photos lying on the road and linked them to the Straits. Most were innocent, but not all of them.
2 pictures show an individual being urinated on. Then the rest of them are either juveniles or other individuals just showing off and posing and so forth.
West Des Moines police said even as perverse as the photos appeared, they didn't have enough to charge the Straits then. We have purposely avoided going into too much details about this case, but if you would like to get some more specifics about it, you can call on our In Touch line. The number there is 246-5600, and then press category 2113. Now, police are urging the public to come forward because they're hoping that they can find some more possible victims of these suspects. Kim?
All right. Thank you, Kathy. Now, if you have any information that may assist authorities, you're urged to pick up the telephone and call the Des Moines Police Department. The number is 283-4832.
Voters in Page County are determined to rebuild their century-old courthouse in Clarinda. You may recall back in December, the 2-story courthouse was gutted by fire. The exact cause has never been determined. Insurance will cover much of the cost to rebuild the structure, but tonight voters overwhelmingly approved an $875,000 bond issue to pay for the rest. Bill Clinton and Al Gore are packing their bags tonight. The two leave tomorrow for a 3-day bus tour along the Mississippi River, and they are planning to visit at least 4 Iowa cities. They'll be in Burlington and Bettendorf tomorrow, with stops Thursday in Davenport, Cedar Rapids, and the Clayton County Fair near Farmersburg. Clinton has a wide lead in the latest polls. He leads President Bush 57 to 32%. And meantime, the president's approval rating continues to slide, with only 29% of those surveyed approving of the job he's doing, 60% disapproving. What will the weather be like for Bill Clinton's visit here to Iowa? For a quick look at the forecast, let's go to Gary Amble in the Weather Center. Gary?
Well, it just so happens that Clinton and also Gore will probably see pretty fair weather on the east side of the state, while the west side of the state shows a chance for some sprinkles. Tonight here in central Iowa, increasing clouds. The only real chance for rain in the southwest part of Iowa, and just sprinkles down to about 58 degrees. And tomorrow, the only real chance for rain comes in the morning with a few scattered sprinkles over the same southwest part of the state. Decreasing cloudiness later on in the day and a high of about 77 degrees. All in all, it looks like another super Iowa day tomorrow, and I'll tell you more about that, plus your weekend outlook coming up just a few minutes ahead, Kim.
Great. Thanks, Gary.
Okay.
Today marked the beginning of a new recycling program for Des Moines residents, but day one didn't turn out the way authorities had hoped it would. When workers picked up garbage along city streets this morning, very few residents had separated their plastics and put them in these very special yellow bags. The program is voluntary, but officials say it may become mandatory next year if enough residents don't participate. The plastics that were picked up were dropped off at the city's new $1 million facility. The recycled plastic will now be sent to manufacturers who will use it to make new items.
There is more to come from your 24-hour news source. Funding approved for a new animal shelter in Des Moines, but that news not sitting well with the folks at the Animal Rescue League. And
saying goodbye was all too familiar for families and friends in Fort Hood, Texas. U.S. soldiers are again returning to the Middle East.
Newscenter 13, voted best newscast in Iowa by the Iowa Broadcast News Association.
Not everyone is happy with the Des Moines City Council's decision to build a new animal shelter. The council voted last night to replace the old facility at a cost of more than $700,000. But the folks at the Animal Rescue League say they should have won the contract to handle Des Moines' shelter needs.
I think a contract with the city is in the best interest of the taxpayers. It's going to save everybody money. This facility is already paid for. The land is already paid for. Why build another facility?
Des Moines officials say the Animal Rescue League objected to turning over some animals for research and refused to take on the 5 full-time jobs the new shelter will create. Marshalltown's largest employer will soon have a new owner. Emerson Electric has announced plans to buy Fisher Controls International. The company will sell for nearly $1.3 billion. Fisher has a plant in Marshalltown that employs 2,000 workers. The plant makes control valves for major industries. No word on how operations might be affected.
Nearly 2,000 U.S. Marines hit the shores of Kuwait early today to begin 2 weeks of military exercises. A total of 5,000 U.S. troops will eventually take part in the maneuvers. Landing, live fire, and tank exercises are all planned. The U.S. doubled the number of participating troops after Iraq resisted United Nations weapons inspections. Heat and dry conditions are fueling forest fires in several western states. Among the worst, a fast-moving blaze in southern Oregon that's threatening 150 homes. In Washington state, fire has laid waste to more than 4,000 acres, and in California, a 7,000-acre fire near Yosemite is 75% contained. In Germany, violence erupted at the funeral of 2 children killed by snipers in Bosnia Saturday. Mourners came under fire today. Injured was a grandmother of one of the toddlers. And the space shuttle's tethered satellite is finally floating into space. After several hours of delay, payload commander Jeff Hoffman was jubilant as he told Mission Control the satellite was drifting smoothly away from Atlantis. It sounds like something from a fiction novel. Senator Robert Smith described for a Senate committee on U.S. POWs today a secret underground prison in Vietnam. Smith cited unconfirmed sources who say the prison was in the center of Hanoi under the tomb of communist leader Ho Chi Minh. Apparently, there are reports of POWs being held there in the late as the 1980s.
Ministry of National Defense and Interior harbored the biggest secret of all, according to the sources. They ran a secret underground prison system in the heart of Hanoi, under the feet of visiting dignitaries, including myself.
The The Defense Department has said it cannot confirm U.S. POWs are still being held in Vietnam, but also says the possibility cannot be ruled out. The forecast is coming up next.
And Gary says we might see some rain tonight.
Well, if we do, it'll likely be just a few sprinkles. Temperature, probably the biggest concern right now. It's been a long time since we've seen a Des Moines day that topped out at normal. I'll tell you how long we've had to wait. Coming up next.
It's a beautiful night this evening, and the only water we're getting right now is from fountains like this. It's not coming from the skies, is it?
No, not yet. And thankfully so. We need a little dry down period. It looks like we'll get that. Just a slim chance for showers in the morning, and then after that, a little dry down, and another chance coming up by, wouldn't you know it, the weekend. Well, let's walk to the weather board. Try to straighten out this big weather mess. And I tell you what, things have just been awfully cool and awfully wet. We can't show you a picture without showing you some type of moisture. This one, as John said, coming from the fountain. At least it's not coming out of the sky anyway. But it looks as though it might if you take a peek at the satellite photograph. And this is what it looks like. We woke up to a little bit of sunshine today, and then the clouds started to increase as the day wears on. And this looks like a huge storm mass over the top of Iowa. Thankfully, it's just mainly high, thin clouds embedded in areas of Nebraska and South Dakota. Some heavy thunderstorms earlier today produced some large hail, also some wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. And some of the golf ball size hailstones were even larger than that, according to some reporting stations anyway. But at least we have some clearing going on just to the west of that, and that should be in here by the end of the week or so, maybe as early as Wednesday night and Thursday. As far as the radar summary, though, just some very light sprinkles left over now in parts of South Dakota. The severe weather is moving well down into the south. It looks like Kansas will be the next state to be hit with that. That'll safely slide well to the southwest of Iowa, but a couple of persistent showers could still straggle into parts of northwest Iowa, west central Iowa, perhaps extreme southwest Iowa. Here in Des Moines, I think for the most part we should stay dry the rest of tonight. What about right now, though? Let's check on some of the numbers, and it's been mighty cool. Afternoon highs have been ridiculously cool. Cloudy right now, we're at 66 degrees, the dew point temperature 55. Add those numbers up, we get 68% for a humidity. East winds at 6 and the barometer steady at 30.01. Afternoon highs today, and for again the 27th day in a row we failed to hit normal. 86 the normal. We were well shy of that by some 12 degrees. Ames a little bit warmer, 76 degrees, but by August standards these numbers aren't even close. Barely hitting 70 was Sioux City, Fort Dodge, Spencer, and Mason City, all of those folks tying for the cool spot. Some of the warmer areas down to the southeast, Quad Cities and Burlington both sharing 77 for a high. Jet stream, this is one reason why we're so awfully cool. It's well down into the U.S., and this should be retreated well back into Canada, and most of the U.S. should be enjoying very warm or suffering through very warm afternoon highs. But instead, we are influenced by some cool air from Canada from time to time, and each one of these little waves that drags the cold air, the leading edge of which will produce a few showers, and we have our next one going on right about now. That'll zip on through, and this one may end up digging a little further to the south, giving us a real good chance to pick up maybe even thunder showers by late Friday night, carrying over into Saturday. This is what it does to the surface. That patch of rain that was very strong at the 6 o'clock hour slides more or less down to the south, a little bit to the east, right along this thermal boundary, and we could see a chance for some sprinkles in the morning after that. Fair skies for about the next 36 hours. Tonight, though, increasing clouds, a southeast breeze around 4 to 7 miles per hour. Southwest half of the state could see a sprinkle or two. 58 degrees, the expected overnight low. Then tomorrow, after that cool start, we top out at only 77 degrees. Mostly cloudy most of your morning, but afternoon hours, we ought to start to clear the skies out. You will see abundant sunshine by then, giving way to a partly cloudy sky Wednesday night. Southerly breezes 4 to 14, a low down to 63. And your next 5 days, well, it has to be a rainy period. And by the way, we will not see normal again through the next 5 days. Best chance for rain coming late Friday night, Saturday. Highest temp we can get up to is 81 degrees, and again, we should be hitting at least middle 80s this time of the year.
We should, but we're not going to. Okay, sports coming up a little later in the newscast. Another hands-down victory for the Dream Team. Rick will have the highlights.
And Des Moines residents joined local authorities in fighting crime tonight. We'll explain. Porch lights are burning tonight across the metro and across the country.
A symbolic message to criminals to stay out of our neighborhoods. It's part of the National Night Out, a coast-to-coast show of unity against crime. News Center 13's Jim Strickland reports residents of one Des Moines neighborhood say they're proof positive citizens can make a difference.
This is what Drake Park was meant for, the fun and games of a neighborhood cookout. This picnic was part of National Night Out, a coast-to-coast rally for drug-free, crime-free neighborhoods. Just 2 years ago, this was a more common sight here. Drake Park was notorious as a drug dealer's playground. Police remember it well.
It was a cesspool infested with crack dealers, open street dealing, fights, stabbings. We've had some shootings here. And because of what the neighbors did, they cleaned it up.
Police say Drake Park is a success story because the neighbors here fought for change and won. They had the city of Des Moines institute a no parking rule throughout the perimeter of the park to keep the drug pushers from stopping to make their deals. They also had the street lighting increased. Parents say their kids are now safe here.
I like to see the kids in the park playing safe, no bullets flying through the air, no cars racing up and down the street.
A finale held at Nolan Plaza was billed as a going-away party for crime and drugs. Chief Mulder was center stage.
What the heck? There's a lot of people out and celebrating the National Night Out, and it's good to have a big celebration and a party.
The mood was light, but the underlying message was clear. Banding together to fight crime works. Jim Strickland, News Center 13.
It's estimated that 23 million people nationwide took part in the National Night Out last year. Organizers say this year's event was expected to be even larger.
This is a man who's not out, but certainly has been very busy.
Very busy night, and of course we have all the Olympic news. Some good news for the men's basketball team, that's just status quo, but some bad news for the baseball team. Plus Dowling and Ankeny open play tonight at the state softball tournament. All the highlights coming up next.
Tonight's sports is brought to you by All Sport.
Tonight's softball games leading to a big softball game for locals tomorrow.
That's right. Two local teams winning tonight, and that sets up the big matchup tomorrow at the state tournament. Second-ranked Dowling had no problem opening against Moravia tonight at the state softball tournament in Fort Dodge. Plenty of Dowling fans made the trip, and they saw the Bruins get off to a very quick start. In the first, Kara Micah lays down the bunt, then beats the throw to first. Tara Pearson would slide home safe on the play. Dowling scored 3 in the inning. Then later, Carrie Knopf comes up to bat and rips one to left for a double. That drives home Stephanie Smith. It was 4-0 Dowling, and that was plenty for Missy Allen, who tossed a 2-hit shutout. The Maroons blank Moravia tonight, 4-0. Also this evening, Urbandale battling Jessup, score tied at 2 until Jenny Upenix, one of her 4 hits on the night, chops one down the line at third. 2 score on the double, making it 4-2 Urbandale. The Jayettes with plenty of offense. Lisa Graves with the fly to right center. The outfielder cannot make the play against Bayer. Kelly Todd comes home 7-2 Urbandale. They win it 11-5. Upenix also tossed a 5-hitter, so tomorrow night it will be Urbandale against Dowling at the state tournament. Elsewhere this evening, Clear Creek Amana beat Sergeant Bluff Luton 4-2, and Manning over LDS Semco. The final there 3-1. Turning now to the majors, holding on to a 1-game lead over Oakland. The Twins opened a 3-game set against the White Sox tonight, and it got ugly at Comiskey Park. The Sox were very hot at the plate. Steve Sachs doubling home a pair to make it 10-4 Chicago in the third. Later, Carlton Fisk gets into the act, and when he starts hitting, you better watch out. It was 13-6 Chicago at that point. They pound the Twins tonight 19-11, and that made it 19-11, and that was the final score. And right now the Twins are tied with the A's in the West because Oakland shut out Texas 9-0, so we have a tie atop the AL West. Doubleheader between Kansas City and California. The Angels win the first game. The Royals come back to split the doubleheader. The Yanks beat Cleveland 4-3. Boston over Toronto 9-4. In Baltimore, Rick Sutcliffe got his 150th career win as the O's down the Tigers 6-3, and Milwaukee beat Seattle 5-2. In the NL, the Braves and Reds fighting for the lead in the West. The Braves were down 5-2, but scored 3 in the 8th. Terry Pendleton up the middle, bringing home Lottie Smith. And then, with it tied up in the 9th, Pendleton again, this time off of Norm Charlton, out of the yard for the game winner. The Braves come back to beat the Reds 7-5. They lead Cincinnati by a game and a half in the West. Elsewhere, the Cubbies over Montreal 8-6. Pittsburgh got by New York 3-2 in 12. The Cards down the Phils 9-5. Right now in the 7th, San Francisco leading San Diego 7-1. And in the 5th, the Dodgers are shutting out the Astros 6-0. The I-Cubs playing at Denver tonight. They lose to the Zephyrs 9-3. Iowa has now lost 3 in a row. At the Olympics today, the U.S. men's basketball team moved into the semifinals with an easy win over Puerto Rico. The Dream Team dominating again. First half, Clyde Drexler off to Charles Barkley for the reverse layup. Easy as that, 28-18 United States. Then Scottie Pippen will lead the way. He'll find a wide-open Chris Mullin, who pulls up and buries the three. Mullin led the way with 21 points. And I think Chuck Daly better learn to lighten up a little bit. It was another blowout, 115-77. They will play Lithuania Thursday in the semifinals. Meanwhile, the U.S. baseball team was not as fortunate against Cuba in the semis today. The Americans kept it close until Victor Mesa's 2-run homer in the 5th broke it open. The Cubans go on to win it 6-1. The U.S. will play Japan tomorrow for the bronze medal. And the U.S. women's volleyball team took another step toward the goal, beating the Netherlands today in 4 sets. The win puts the U.S. into the semifinals, where they will next play Cuba. And this is how the medal count looks. The unified team starting to run away with it. 81 total medals, 33 of those gold. The U.S. in second place with 68 medals. Germany in third with 51. And of course, more Olympics coming up after the news and through the rest of the week.
Thanks, Ray. Gary's going to have wake-up weather when we return.
And with 5 medals under her belt, it's home sweet home for gymnast Shannon Miller. Stay with us.
Recapping our top story, a warning to stay out of a stretch of the South River in Warren County. A release of hog manure has polluted a 15-mile stretch of the river extending from near Indianola northeast to near Hartford. Fish have been killed and people are advised to avoid the river for at least a few days. The farmer allegedly involved could face a fine. Gary's back. One last look.
Tomorrow's going to be cool again to start the day. Maybe not quite as cool as it was this morning. Wow, if you were outside early, it was chilly. When you wake up tomorrow, though, mostly cloudy skies, a few sprinkles over extreme southwest Iowa. We'll wake up to 58 degrees.
Thanks, Gary. Finally tonight, several Olympic competitors packed up their medals and returned to the U.S. today.
You've made all Oklahomans proud, and you've made all America proud. You've been an outstanding...
Among them, 15-year-old Shannon Miller. She received a warm welcome this afternoon in her hometown of Oklahoma City. Shannon earned 5 medals, 2 silver and 3 bronze in the Barcelona Games. Her winning events included the uneven bars, balance beam, and the floor exercise. And I might be a little biased, but I think she was kind of cheated out of the gold.
I think a lot of people felt that way on the one event. You bet. And she also went in overshadowed by Kim Zemeskel.
She did.
She comes out anything but.
Really a great little gal.
Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Join us then.
Good night.
For around-the-clock news headlines in the Des Moines area, watch News Center 13 on Heritage Cable Channel 30 twice each hour.